are in for a treat with Kim Mitchell. Kim, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you,
You're welcome. Oh, my dad got the screen.
Becky. Appreciate that. Well, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing this morning? Good. Anybody have any breakthroughs this week or anything really awesome that happened? Because this business, I'm telling you, there's a lot of ups and there's a lot of downs. There's a lot of crazy things that can happen to you. I went door knocking just the other day. Now, I've been in this business for about 7 years. I look like I've been in the business for about 70 years, but really it's only been 7 years. I used to be in the printing business. I worked for a commercial printer in East LA, and I was buying real estate through Leslie Goen. Leslie Goen is an agent here, and she's one of the founders of this Keller Williams. And I was making about $125,000 a year selling printing services in East LA. The problem is, it's a 70-mile commute from door to door every single day. And pretty much I did it 6 days a week. And then one day I was having lunch with Leslie. I'd already bought 7 or 8 properties through her, bought or sold, and she's been my realtor for about 10 years. And she said something about selling real estate, and she wasn't really trying to recruit me. But I said, well, Leslie, what do you make? She was making 3 times what I was making, and she never had to leave the Antelope Valley. I'm like, whoa, I gotta check that out. So that was the end of my printing career and the beginning of real estate. And probably in my 2nd year, I made something like 50 grand, and probably my 3rd year, I started making 100 grand. And I've pretty much made consistently over 100 grand a year since then. So this can be a very profitable business. It is a very profitable business. You just gotta be willing to take the steps to make it profitable for you. And that's one of the reasons that you're here today. Today, we're gonna learn about the CMA. I call it current market analysis. I'm sure there's other names for it. But the CMA's competitive market analysis, the CMA's purpose is to convey to the client and to yourself what the value of the property is. And you do want your CMA to be accurate. However, a CMA can serve different purposes. There's a couple times you're going to do a CMA. You're going to do a CMA to market this property to your client on a listing presentation. And that's primarily what we're talking about today. But then also later on, when the house is sold and somebody's got to meet with the appraiser, you may want that CMA, you may want to do another CMA that shows that the property is worth what it's sold for. And that's very, very important. When it comes time to appraise, it's very important that it appraises for what you sold it for. You don't want any complications at that point. You want it to go smoothly. So a CMA is super, super important. All right, let's begin with our lesson for today. Today, what's that?
Sorry, it should work.
Okay, let's try it.
Yep, there you go.
We want to price houses to sell. We don't want to price houses for any other reason. We just want it to sell. Here's something that's happened to me. I had a listing at the beginning of last year, a beautiful listing, gorgeous house down in Agua Dulce. And I thought that house was worth well over $1 million. And I think it is worth over $1 million. But here's what happened. I spent, if you pay for photography, it's going to cost you a couple $100 per house. How many of you guys have already paid for a photographer? What did it cost?
It was 150.
150? 200? Anybody pay more than 200? Well, you're going to pay 200 just for still photography, right? Then you're going to pay another 150 maybe for interior video. And then how much is a drone? And everybody expects drone, especially if a house has more than, say, 10,000 square feet on the lot. And this one had 5 acres. So of course we needed drone footage. That's another couple $100. So you can spend between $600 and $800 on a listing, and you can spend a whole lot of time visiting that listing and showing that listing and putting it on the market. I happen to belong to Greater Antelope Valley Association of Realtors, but I also belong to Southland Regional Association of Realtors. The sooner you can become a member of SRAR, the better. Because up here, as Vicki said, there's our 1,600 realtors in the Antelope Valley. And when I go on a listing presentation, I let people know, I'm a member of Greater Antelope Valley Association of Realtors like everybody else here, because there are 1,600 realtors, and to do business in this valley, you've got to be a member. The Southland Regional Association of Realtors is 17 multiple listings rolled into one. There's 27,000 realtors down there. Welcome, guys. So the point is, it costs money to belong to GABAR. It costs money to belong to SRAR. It may cost between $600 and $800 to market a listing. That's just to get it out there on the internet, let alone flyers, open houses. And that house, we had probably 5 open houses, and because of the area and the value of the house, we served champagne and chocolate-covered strawberries.
Where was this? In Quartz Hill?
Aquadulce.
Oh, Aquadulce.
And it was overpriced. It was not priced to sell.
What was it, 1.3? How much was that?
It was 1.35.
Okay, how big was it? What, about 3.5, 4 acres?
It was 5 acres,
That's a nice parcel.
and it had an incredible view of, what are the rocks, the Vasquez rocks.
Those are pretty.
When you walk out onto the back of this lot, there's like a cliff, and the entire property had a fence around it. And when you stood there, it looked like you could reach out and touch those rocks. It was such a beautiful view, but it did not sell. It did not sell. With all of our efforts, and we dropped the price.
When was this, in 2011?
It was early in 2016.
Really?
It was last year, early last year.
17.
2017,
Oh,
sorry.
so just early, so like a year ago.
Like a year ago.
Huh.
The point I'm trying to illustrate is we want a price to sell. We don't want to, it doesn't do you any good to get an overpriced listing.
What do you do in that case, Tom? Get a certified appraisal?
You can do that, you can get a certified appraisal, but the best thing to do is do your homework before you arrive there. We're talking about doing a CMA. Go there prepared, knowing what you want to list this house for, knowing what it will sell for. And I've seen agents that listed homes that were below market value, but you know what? Those people sell a lot of houses. Those agents sell a lot of houses. Now, if you do your homework and you know what the price of the value of the property is, you're going to be in the catbird seat. And if you give a good presentation, you know what you're talking about, and you go in there with a little confidence, you're going to get that listing. And you have to think, I'm going to get that listing.
What do you do if?
Even if you have to verbally tell yourself out loud in the car on the way there, this listing is mine.
Amen.
When I get that, no, this listing is mine. It's nobody else's. It's mine already. I'm telling you, your mindset is everything, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, yes.
I just have a question. If you're gonna answer it later, you don't have to answer it now, but on the listing I have, I think we're really pushing the price to sell. What do you tell a client, and are you gonna talk about this if it comes back under value of what you listed it for?
If it comes back under value of what
Yeah.
you listed it for?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk about that.
okay, then you can
But-
wait. Or-
Well, no,
yeah.
one of the things I want to tell you is that if you're at that point in the listing presentation where the client is pushing you and you're pushing you, everything's pushing the price up, and it looks like you're not going to get this listing unless you're at a kind of a high markup, then see if you can get them to agree at that point that if after 30 days,
Okay.
we're going to drop the price 10%. Does that sound reasonable? Does that sound fair? Because, and this I am going to demonstrate later on, the longer a house sits on the market, the less money they're going to net in the end. The less money they're going to make.
It's true.
Most people are gonna want to
It's
sell it.
very true. And you can end up getting less than that house is worth.
Right.
If that house is worth $400,000, you may end up getting $350 just because you went in too high. You started out too high.
So what do you
It's a big
do?
mistake.
What do you do if the seller's greedy?
What you do, there's two things you can do. One is what I just said, and that is build in some price reductions up front.
Okay.
The other thing you can do is walk away.
I don't want to do that.
Nobody wants to do that. But let me tell you, let me make something perfectly clear right here and right now. It is better to walk away from an overpriced listing than to be stuck with a buyer, a seller who's greedy, and to spend $600 or $800 on marketing a property and never sell it, because number one, it shows all these, in your track record, it's gonna show expired listings. All right. Number two, you're gonna lose credibility, and Keller Williams will lose credibility. They'll think, oh man, Keller Williams agent. I'm never doing business with Keller Williams.
You can't sell property.
They try to oversell properties. Or they're gonna think that you did a bad job marketing their property, when in reality, you just tried to get too much for it. Yes?
So I did tell them that, and we put it in there that if it didn't sell after 15 days, if there was no one who was offering, we would lower it 10,000, so it sold right away. Well, there's an offer, okay, I'm not saying it's sold, but there's an offer on the table
Right.
for the exact asking price. So, right, here's my other part of the question. So I did that right, and it's not because of me, it's because of George Perez, okay?
All right.
That's the only reason. So, because I wouldn't have had the sense to do that being brand new. And what if it comes back now, that when it goes to get appraised and it's less than value? I guess that's my other part of the question. The seller's already aware, right, that they might be selling it for too much? Is that
Well,
what
there's a
you?
couple things that have to happen. One is a buyer can come up with the difference in cash.
Okay,
And don't be afraid to ask for that,
okay,
if that's the case, especially if
Okay.
you've got a hot property. If you had 4 or 5 offers on a property and the appraisal comes in low, give them the opportunity
Oh, yeah.
to
it's
only
been
have the
hard.
cash.
Yeah. I
And
know.
if they can't do that, if they're not willing to do that, and the seller's not willing to cancel and put it back on the market, then the seller has to lower the price.
Okay, all right,
It's-
just so
here's
I know,
something- Just
just in
put this
case.
part out of your mind right now. Don't think you're ever gonna get an appraiser to change their mind. That is very, very rare. It has happened, but it's very, very rare that you can go back and protest an appraisal and say, this is messed up, they didn't understand something. It very rarely happens.
Usually get a second appraisal opinion if that's true.
You can try.
Thank you, by the
Can I
way.
ask a question?
Yes.
Well, we've been told also that, no matter what, the listing price is, tag the listing. Don't just say, oh, this is total price, and just walk away from it. Take the listing, because listings are leverage, and even if you don't sell that property, you get the advertisement, the exposure, and you could actually get more buyers to buy other properties. So that's why I kind of wanted.
No,
Yeah,
they
that's
say
one-
take the
that's one
listing
school
with
of
the
thought.
built-in.
Okay.
They say take the listing with the built-in.
Yeah, no,
Lowering-
absolutely. If you
Yeah.
can take the listing with the
Yeah.
built-ins, if you have a client that's just ridiculous, I've had ridiculous.
Right.
I've walked away from listings
Well,
when they were ridiculous. So look, I can take this, but this is gonna cost me too much money. If you're not flexible at all, there's no way you're gonna get this for this house. It's stress, it's a built-in failure. Don't,
even
I'm
for the
gonna take that listing.
advertisement, you won't take it.
What's that?
Even for the, because as you have a listing, you get advertised, people start calling you buyers. Even for that.
Well, they're not gonna
reason,
call you
personal.
if it's way overpriced. If it's just ridiculous, I wouldn't take it, but.
What about influencing realtors with the 3% on the back end, on their, at least you'll get offers, I would presume, or they'll call you and just tell you.
Yeah, no, there's all kinds of things you can do, that's for sure. I'm talking about, and you're gonna run into this sometime in your career, you're gonna run into people that are absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm just saying that you should have in your mind the possibility of walking away. And then there are also clients that are just super difficult to work with. I'm not saying give up on them, I'm just saying that some people, that it's just not gonna work.
Know when to say when.
Yeah, don't go into a listing being desperate and thinking, I've got to take this under any circumstances. Look, sir, your carpet is destroyed, your walls look horrible, you need a new roof on this house, and you're asking $100,000 over what the house is worth. That's right, that's because that's what it's worth. I got $150,000 into this house, but that doesn't matter. We don't determine what the market value of your property is. You don't determine it, I don't determine it. The market determines it. And you've got this going against you. There's times to walk away. Very few times, trust me.
How many
Maybe
times?
2 or 3 out of 100.
Well, you gotta use your judgment on that, how many
You've got to use your
times.
judgment on that. And you've got to look at the market, you've got to look at your own experience and what you've got on the table. If you've already got 12, 13, 14 listings right now, and somebody's giving you a hard time,
Well, yeah,
and
of course you are.
just ridiculous, and you're gonna run into that, then I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with walking away. All right, let's go over today's expectations. We're gonna study market fundamentals to discover the top pricing strategies for pricing any property. We're gonna learn to prepare a comparative market analysis that will easily support our pricing methodology. We're gonna learn pricing presentation scripts and pricing objection handling that will benefit both you and your potential clients. Discover standards and techniques to deliver a great CMA and your price recommendation. Can I say something? I want to put a little plug for Toastmasters. I'm the president of High Desert Toastmasters, and there are a number of Toastmasters here already, some of our new members. If you want to have more confidence on the listing presentation, confidence is important. Not arrogance. Confidence is important. And when I say confidence, that's important because if you're not confident with yourself, people are going to be less likely to let you handle their most important transaction.
You're gonna notice right away that you don't know what you're talking about.
The most expensive asset they have. And you know what? Sometimes you even sound like you don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. You really do, but you're just nervous. You're scared or whatever. Toastmasters can help you with that. Toastmasters meets here every Monday night at 6:30 to 8. And there's a Toastmasters called High Desert Toastmasters. It's been around since 1971. That meets at Robertson Honda on Thursday night from 6:30 to 8.
How much does it cost?
Right now, to join for the first 6 months is $45 for 6 months.
It's like 100 for the year.
Oh, I think it's
Yeah, like
for the
$100 a
year.
year.
It's not for the year.
The thing is, you learn to carry yourself, you learn vocabulary, you learn confidence just through it's an organization, it's an international organization dedicated to self-improvement through the art of public speaking.
You don't have to be a realtor to go.
You don't have to be a realtor to go to either one. You can be in any line of work or you can be unemployed, it doesn't matter.
That was Monday night, 6:30.
Monday night, right here in this market center, right here in this room.
No, I wouldn't say.
Monday night,
but I-
6:30 to 8. And then Thursday night at Robertson Honda from 6:30 to 8. And it's mostly comprised of people who are just beginning. Some of them last Monday gave their first speech in their life.
Really?
In front of people. Never spoke publicly, ever. And it's a valuable way, an inexpensive way to grow your abilities. And when you're on a listing presentation, you want to sound like you know what you're doing, and you want to know what you're doing. All right, we're going to do mostly activities today. We're now on page, it's time for action review.
Mine won myself.
Does everybody have their assignments?
Yes,
The booklet, yeah.
the one from last.
Oh, the checkbook from last week?
The
Yeah,
one from
that was
Wednesday.
Last week.
Wednesdays.
We have to turn those in.
I got it.
Yeah, if you guys have your checklist, go ahead and bring it up right now and put it right here.
You guys turn it in.
That's it?
You can tell when they're talking about.
Do you guys have any questions about any videos you watched in your assignments?
You need to go to Toastmasters.
Because I have to go.
You can share an aha from last week's assignment.
So I kind of walked in with.
She was
Aha.
introducing the CMA, what a CMA is.
Aha.
That's what we're gonna be talking about. CMA.
Anybody have any ahas from last week's assignment?
I wasn't here, I was in the
You know, I gotta confess, like I'm hearing over and over, we're, in the lead generating business.
We are.
And it's hard to pick up that phone, and then you always hope when it's ringing that they won't answer because they can be quite rude. So I've had to definitely block off time and just force myself and have a smile on my face like Michael DeYoung talks about, and just be positive and have that attitude that they're going to say yes. And it finally paid off yesterday because, twice I had a guy call me back. for a possible listing. And another one, take down my name and number and wants me to call him back because they're looking to maybe sell in May. So I just kind of made sure I was smiling and I stopped that. I don't want you to pick up and I'm scared because I know you're going to be rude. So it seemed to make my day nicer too when I had my blocked time.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm just learning lead generate with a purpose and be positive. That was great. Don't answer.
One thing I kind of learned, was that if you're kind of hesitant or nervous, is that you make a call where you know you're not gonna get rejected before you start your calls, maybe to a friend, just something quick, so it gets you to the routine and puts you in a positive mindset, as opposed to making that call, getting rejected, and then, thinking that's the end of the world.
Yeah, no, I get it. Here's something to keep in mind too.
Oh my God.
I'll wait till everybody's ready.
Sorry, no, I'm just thinking what I can put in front of me that will make me smile when I pick up the phone. It could be my grandkids and my crazy dog.
Well, my grandkids make me smile, that's for sure. You could put your grandkids, how many people here have a dream board already?
I have to do.
Have you guys created a dream board?
I should.
Oh my gosh, you gotta create a dream board.
What is that?
Somebody tell me of a place they wanna visit. If money was not an issue, where would you go? Japan.
Mars.
Mars. What's that?
My students do
Costa
report on
Rica.
that.
My daughter just got back from Costa Rica.
Thanks to the dream board and sticking to my big why and everything, I was able to, everybody knows I had to get a car, so that happened, right?
Oh, you worked hard.
I worked hard and I put up the money that I needed down for that car. And then my other goal, or my big why, was the 2 trips that I took, which was going back home to Argentina and then I went to Italy. So, and I did
Argentina,
it.
she went to Argentina and
Yes.
Italy.
People
Why?
thought I was never coming back because I was gone.
Those dream boards really
Now-
work. I
They
did that
do,
in
yeah.
2015,
Yeah.
put 2 houses on there,
Yeah.
and then I looked back like
Yeah.
3 years later, I said, oh
You
my
sold
God,
how
these
many?
are the same houses I put on that dream board that I had purchased, like a house and
See?
an investment
And you
property.
own them now.
And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Last year I went to Australia and
And
Fiji.
this year I said, I
And
have
that
to
was
put
the
that
year
dream
before.
board. Yeah, it really.
Then I got to go to Detroit. Of course, I'm from Detroit. It's my family.
That's a big deal.
But put something in front of you that will motivate you to pick up that phone and call no matter what. Yes.
Well, not necessarily aha, just kind of like a reality check is the whole market statistics things that we have to like go through. I realized I had no idea what that means or anything, so I was like really paying attention to that.
Oh, you mean on the assignment from last week? The whole market thing?
Yeah, like.
Well, we're gonna go into some of that today. So hopefully we'll answer all your questions. Oh, by the way, did everybody silence their phones? Mine's going off already. I silenced it. Okay. Any other breakthroughs from last week you guys wanna share?
What'd you say, sorry? What'd you say?
Any other breakthroughs from last week that any of you would like to share? Ahas, great moments, inspiring things that happened. I went door knocking with a new agent. She's signed up under me. She was a referral, and she's in my downlink, and I know she's gonna kill it in real estate. We went door knocking, what's today? Today's,
Friday.
Friday. When was that? It was like Wednesday, I think. And I'm gonna get 2 listings out of 1 afternoon of door knocking. I
Really?
know I'm going to get those listings. Where?
No, really?
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah, no.
This is in Palmdale, Antelope Valley?
It was definitely in Antelope Valley. It was probably 3 hours of door knocking. I know for certain that 2 people want to sell their house right now. And there's at least 3 more that want more information. Now, if I sold those 2 houses, I'm estimating that my profit is gonna be about $12,000.
Each?
No, total, about 12,000 bucks. It's gonna be in my pocket from spending 3 hours door knocking with a new agent. She never went door knocking before, she was a little nervous about it, and I want her to do well, because if she does well, I do well because of profit sharing. And so I showed her the ropes, and we went. Now, I will share something else with you guys.
What's that?
If you ever go to a house and there's a sign up that this says no trespassing, keep out, enter at your own risk.
You don't.
Those are not Halloween decorations.
That was you?
That was me, did you hear it?
Oh, I heard that. Oh, my gosh.
No, no, thank God, the lady wasn't, I was blessed.
Oh, my God. No, what did she say?
She said,
You're
blessed.
glad.
No, she said, you're blessed, over and over again. Well, she might have said glad too.
What, the dogs came up to you?
No, this lady, I have a magnetic business card. I stuck my magnetic business card on her garage door. And one of my flyers, because I just sold a house in that area, and I stuck it in her screen door. And I just walked away. I mean, I'm chatting it up with this young girl. We're talking about door knocking and all the techniques and everything. And those signs I just saw them in the corner of my eye. And I thought, oh, they left their Halloween decorations up. No. So she called me. I didn't even know that she called me, but I checked my voicemail, and here's this message. It's 2.5 minutes of mother effing, well, all this kind of stuff, over and over and over again about trespassing on her property. So lesson learned, don't.
If they have a sign saying no trespassing, you can't put a flyer in?
Yeah.
No soliciting.
They're gonna call you.
And no trespass.
Now,
Just don't
is it
go.
illegal?
Now, let me just say this. When it says no soliciting, it's up to you whether you knock on that door or not. But I can tell you,
I do
I
not.
ignore those signs.
Yeah.
I've got a picture of me on Facebook standing right next to the biggest no soliciting sign I've ever seen. It was like this big. It dominated the entire
But I
front
remember
door.
you did mention one time that you did get a listing, they said no soliciting, the woman opened the door, and you still got into the house, and said she was thinking about selling.
Well, here's the thing, on that
Couple
particular,
years ago, right?
that's exact
Yeah.
example I was
Did
just
you remember
mentioning. What happened is I'm on my way to in this really nice neighborhood in West Rancho Vista, and there's these plumbers going in and out of that house, but it had this big ass no soliciting sign. I just had to go knock on that door. And as soon as I knock on the door, I says, "Hi ma'am, my name is Ken Mitchell, I'm with Keller Williams Realty, how are you?" If they reply, that's a close, right? She says, "I'm fine." And I says, "Who do you know that might be looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate that I can talk to today?" That's your script.
Right.
If you learn no other script in this business but that will make you $1 million. Who do you know that might be looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate that I can talk to today? She said, me and my boyfriend have been wanting to move to Sonoma, Arizona for ages. I can't believe you're here.
Because most people probably stay away.
Is this the one with the big
Yeah.
no soliciting sign?
That's one of the big no soliciting sign, like that big. Not the lady that says keep out and enter at your own risk.
Well, that's why she was looking for someone. Everyone turned away and walked away.
Well, that's what
That's not the only way to
happens.
get it.
That's what happens,
Get a
guys.
big phone
Those
call.
no soliciting signs, it's up to you. I'm not telling you
And I'm
to
curious,
buy
that
it.
other one that called you, all those nice things, did she actually have dogs there that could have attacked you? Because I don't get it.
Or she just had the mouth.
Oh, no, I think
was for
she
her.
was the
No,
attack.
because of all the Halloween decorations that you had that was there.
Her signs were kind of crude and handmade. There was nothing from the city of Lancaster warning me against.
Didn't she say something about you're blessed that I wasn't home because I would kill you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you know about it?
Oh, I sent his boss.
Yeah, my team.
I wanted to hear it.
Moving
All
on.
right, we gotta move along, folks.
You know, don't keep using it. Okay, did you get this too?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody have any breakthroughs? Let's hear it. Come on, people, did you connect with anybody? Did you have a conversation? You did?
I called a friend of mine, and I do know they live in the area where I'm calling.
Yeah.
And luckily I looked down and realized who it was, the husband and wife, so I just told him, I'm trying to solicit your business. And I just sent him a thing on Facebook saying, listen to your voicemail, I just solicited you and Aaron.
Hey,
Could you imagine, what's wrong with Mindy? She's stupid.
no, you did the right thing. I did that one time. I did that one time for a friend because I was in a class like this. I think I was in Boulder or something, and I called her, and she goes, well, you know, we have been thinking about selling our house in West Palmdale. I said, really? Well, let's get together and talk about it. And I sold her house.
But she knew it was you? Did you know it was her when she said
It's a
that?
friend I've known for 20 years. No, longer than that. Actually, when I was 21 years old, her husband was senior patrol leader in my Boy Scout troop. That's
I'm
how
a
long
Boy
I've
Scout
known
leader.
her. But did they think to call me because I was in real estate? No, I called them. And I ended up
okay.
selling a house for them.
Okay.
And I've sold 2 other houses for them since then. So, yeah, call your friends. My
Okay.
first transaction was a lady in my church, was somebody from my sphere of influence. That's where all your business comes from in the beginning. She came up to me in church and said, I heard you got your license. And I'm like, yeah, I just got it just a few weeks ago. She goes, I'm gonna be your first client. I said, what? Okay.
Very cool.
And so I took her out looking at houses. Her husband had died a year before that from colon cancer. And all the years they were married, they never owned their own home. And I took her around, she got like $20,000 from a life insurance policy when he passed. Took her around looking at houses, and I'm like, I was so excited, and I'm thinking, like from my perspective, I want to show her the biggest, baddest houses that need work. And this was back in, when the market was very bad, when 60% of our transactions were short sales or REOs.
That's a good time.
It was actually a good time.
Great time.
But it was hard on a lot of people. And I'm showing her these big houses that need work. And I said, Karen, if you buy this house and put a couple $1,000s into it, you're gonna make a ton of money. No, I don't want that. All right, how about this one? It's a single story. It needs some work and everything, but if you, no, I don't want that.
Did she buy anything?
Yeah, so here's what happened. And this is why I'm telling you this story. One time she said to me, what about those condos? I said, condo?
Condo.
Why in the world would you buy a condominium? They don't go up in value.
They were cheap then.
They're
They were dirt
cheap,
cheap.
they're not gonna go up in value like a house. You know, it's hard to rent them out and blah, 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 blah. And she goes, but I wouldn't be alone. Oh my gosh. How many times did she have to say this to me before I actually listened? And I found the perfect condo. I'll never forget it. I walked in this condo, I got chills. From the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. And I picked up my phone and I called her and I says, Karen,
I found it.
I'm in your condo. She goes, how do you know?
I know.
I said, because I've got goosebumps from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. And she goes, well, is it a 2-bedroom, 2-bath? I said, no. It's 1 bedroom and a den and 1 bath. But I'm telling you, this is it. She goes, well, I better come over there. She came over and she goes, I've got goosebumps too. And I think this is the one. I said, well, let me scope it out. Let's do a little research. And I went door knocking in that neighborhood. And this condo wasn't attached to any other condos. It was a standalone.
That's nice.
And across the street, I go to this door, I knock on this door, and this big guy comes up to the door. Yeah, what do you want? I'm a little nervous. I'm thinking, man, I picked the wrong neighborhood. And I kind of looked up at him and I says, well, a very dear friend of mine, she's a widow in my church. She's buying a condo here, and I just want to know if you feel like this is a safe neighborhood. And he goes, which one's she buying? I said, that one there. And he looks at me and he goes, well, that one on the other side, that's a widow. And the one on the other side of hers, that's a widow. And I said, I'm a deacon in my church, and I look out for the widows in my church. That's my assignment. And I'm looking out for them, so I'll look out for her too. I said,
That gave me.
that was it. That sealed it.
Yeah.
She bought that house, bought that condo, and I made her a sign that said Karen's condo. It's in K's, right? K's her condo.
It didn't say,
It's hanging above her fireplace to this day.
doesn't say no solicitation.
No, that's on the front door. But the point is, that got me hooked on real estate. And when I took her the keys, this is a lady whose parents died in a plane crash.
Oh, my God.
Oh, shit.
Whose 10-year-old son died after a T-ball game from a heart aneurysm.
Dear
And my husband
heavens.
had died a year earlier from colon cancer.
That's
So
not
when
a
I
good
called her and I had the keys in my hand, she was crying. And I said, Karen, it sounds like you've been crying. She goes, I'm just so happy. I never thought I'd own my own home. And I took the keys to her and I said, these are not just 2 pieces of metal to open a door. I said, these are the keys to a brighter future.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
It made me cry. And so her picture's hanging in my office right now. Because she was my first client and it got me hooked on real estate.
I'm not putting my first client up.
It's a people business.
He's the one that wants too much money for his
Okay.
place.
Guys, I don't know if we have time to do the handwritten notes, but you're supposed to do 10 handwritten notes today. So please do that on your own time. All right, gotta get our head in the game.
We have to leave early because I have ALC.
Okay.
Another 30 minutes.
You made our calls, you're gonna do your handwritten notes, now we're gonna get our head in the game. Pricing has a large mindset component, both for you and your seller. And I promise you, when you go to sell a house, when you go to do a listing appointment, you're not gonna be 100% certain what that house is worth. There is a very good chance you're not gonna be 100% certain, because when you do a CMA, you're gonna find that there's a range. You're gonna say, man, this house could go for 120, or this house could go for 180. And they're all over the place. But you've got to bring your best game, and your mindset has got to be, I'm gonna get this listing. This listing is mine. I own this listing. I just have to go get it. It's waiting for me right now. By the way, well, nobody has any breakthroughs from the break? Good.
I had one call, the lady says, no, I don't want anything.
It
Next
is,
call,
I
I
think,
called,
here, a page,
circle deal. He said,
10.
He said, no, he's not selling, he's trying to transfer it because of the capital gain he has to pay for it. So
Right.
I had to find out
You
the
can talk just a
projection.
little louder. I want
Sorry.
everybody to hear this.
I apologize.
That's all right.
Anyway, he said, wow, he said, you're a really good salesman.
Yeah? All right. You got a compliment.
Yeah, you know, like you get compliments from cold calling.
And her food is delicious
Well,
too,
maybe
might
you
I
know
add.
Oh, her food.
Next
Love
time I'm
her
gonna take the
food.
food to him.
You guys have
Well, what
eaten
about me?
olives. You guys have
Mine
eaten
is
olives.
Lucy.
In Lancaster, you gotta go to the Olives Restaurant.
Bring it all.
Lancaster Boulevard.
Yes.
It's the best Mediterranean
It
food
is.
in
It
this
is.
valley, bar
It's the
none.
best food, period.
The shawarma pizza is to die
As
for.
soon you wanna have to drive all the way over there and come up to town.
Chicken shawarma. It's garlic chicken.
Lucy, we need to
All right,
have
all
our
right, all right.
sessions
Bring
there.
it in. I want you to know that during the break, I made a few phone calls, and I have a listing appointment at 2 o'clock on Saturday.
Yay.
Huh?
Good. Good for you, yay!
Thank you very much. And I got that listing appointment from that phone call, that's right. So 2 p.m. on Saturday, I'm gonna go get that listing, and that listing is mine, it's waiting for me, and my sign is gonna be on that house in less than a week, okay? Helping sellers determine the correct price for their property is part of the value you bring to them. How many people have seen ads for purple bricks?
Yes.
Wow,
Raise your hand.
I see that, what the heck?
Man, does that piss me off?
But I don't understand why they think it's such a good deal.
Well, I don't know that
They're
much
still
about it,
paying the
but
buyer's
that's not the
commission.
only
I
thing.
get it.
It's a trick.
That's not the
Yeah,
only
it
thing
is.
I've seen. I've also, I listened to YouTube videos, right? I watch YouTube videos, and I'm seeing more and more ads for companies that are
Yeah.
replacing real estate agents.
Well, they're flat brokers, flat.
Flat broker
there's still an
fees,
agent
1%, a flat fee of $500. There's all kinds of things out there, and the competition is fierce. You have one thing to bring to the table,
It's because your people were.
and that is a knowledge of your industry, a knowledge of your area.
Yes.
And so when you come, your head better be in the game. Because these people are hearing these ads all the time, and they're wondering, why am I spending all this money?
But
The
this-
ad for Purple Bricks is a guy,
Yeah.
they're playing basketball, and
Right.
this one guy said to the other guy, did you sell your house through Purple Bricks? No. You could have gotten it, you could have sold this house and kept all that money.
So I don't get how.
Save the commission.
But you pay commission. Did you look at the Purple Bricks ads in MLS?
It's
They're
5,000.
still paying.
It's 5,000.
But they're still paying the sellers. If we bring a buyer to them, they're still giving us 2.5%, 3%.
Yeah,
So
for
what are they
now.
working for free?
For now.
On Purple Bricks side?
And also,
I
Purple
don't
Bricks
know, I don't
doesn't
know the details
advertise
about
for
Purple
them.
Bricks, but I'm definitely gonna
Oh,
look into it.
they're there.
I'm
They're
just
there.
telling you that the only edge that you have is not your sparkling personality, it's your knowledge of the industry.
They're also, they don't.
And you gotta be able to do a
houses,
CMA and do it well.
They have no,
No, you have to pay them to do those.
So number
Yes.
one really is mindset. Number two is your presentation. When you go on a listing presentation, what are they gonna be looking at? They're gonna see your face, your hair, well, in your case, not so much.
He has hair
I had some
here.
mustache.
He has
though.
hair.
No, they're gonna see your hands. Are your nails clean? Are you groomed? Are you, you got hair growing out of your ears? You know, that's part of the presentation. They're gonna look and see, are your hands clean, are your nails clean, are you trimmed, are your
Not
shoes
gonna look at my
clean?
nails.
All that kind of stuff. You wanna dress nice for a listing presentation. That's not the time to put on the, what are these pants women
Athleisure.
are wearing?
Athleisure.
Yeah, that's not the time for leisure.
Athleisure.
What's that?
Athleisure. It's like athletic wear. that's
Oh, athleisure, yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
not the
like
time to
yoga
do that.
pants and some cute boots and a sweatshirt.
They want to know that you are going to represent their property
Navy.
well,
Mm-hmm.
and that you know what you're talking about.
And wearing navy blue
I'm
is
strong.
psychologically puts you in a place of power.
Really?
Well, blue,
not red.
for most people,
I know
blue,
my red uniform.
for most people, blue, I had, your boss told me that one time. I think. She told me that, no, there was another guy that used to work here. He's very, very successful, and he said, wear blue. Wear some kind of blue somewhere on your person, blue tie, blue, whatever, something blue.
Blue, me
Because
too.
true
Blue.
blue, ever heard the expression true blue?
Yeah,
To most people, blue seems to indicate honesty.
really.
True
And
blue,
power
that's where that
Then I'll
expression
call my
came from.
hair blue then.
Also, when you stand in front of people, this is something I learned a long time ago. When you stand in front of people, put your weight on your left foot. If you're gonna shift your weight,
Oh.
when your weight is on your right foot, it's adversarial.
What?
I'm squaring off. You wanna mess with me? Yeah. But you put your weight on your left foot, and I'm
Like barking against your,
is it not true? Do you not feel it?
yeah.
We're friends, and my posture, my hands are open. These things make a big difference, but what really makes a big difference is what we're here to talk about, and that's the CMA. You need to use your knowledge and expertise in pricing and presentation to win the seller's agreement on the list price, a price that will get their home sold. We want to sell it, we don't just want to list it. We want to make it happen. Turn to page 13. Pricing is one of the absolutely essential real estate success skills. To become a pricing master, you must understand how the market works, local market conditions, and pricing criteria. What are some pricing criteria that are important?
No, we're not seeing what you're
Where-
saying.
what page is this?
12,
You mean 12,
Let's turn to page
11, page 11.
I think they're all divvied.
Living,
They're all divvied.
Well, I'm on page 11, right?
Oh, okay. We
Oh,
said
yeah.
13. I said
Your
13.
page looks just like my page?
Yeah, geez.
You
Okay,
said 13.
then turn to page 11.
Hello.
How markets work, local market conditions, pricing criteria. What are some pricing criteria?
Location,
Location,
condition.
condition, that's right.
neighbors.
Neighbors,
Well, that's location.
what else?
Yeah, that's true.
And
Size.
Condition.
I said
Age.
Condition is really important, guys.
Year.
You could take a house that year it was built, that's important. Out of all of those, the most important consideration is location. But the second most important has got to be the condition of the property. I'm telling you, I got a listing right now in West Lancaster. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, pool home, 2-story, over 2,500 square feet, 8-foot deep pool with a diving board, with a spa, slump stone wall all the way around, dog run, 3 blocks from Quartz Hill High for $398,000, and I've had that listing for a year.
Really?
Oh, by the way, it has new carpet, new paint, and new laminate flooring.
How many square
What's
feet?
the MLS number?
Why is
2,500.
it still on the market?
What is it on?
Yeah.
What's the MLS number?
You know, the price?
It's not overpriced.
When does
When I tell you that condition is important, I'm giving you this illustration for that reason only.
Is it just an illustration, or you really have that property?
No, I really have that property.
When does
It's not in the market right now.
Oh, what's going on
When,
here?
Almond Valley Way.
when does your listing expire?
You got
I'm
any
not gonna let
land?
it expire.
Any land on it?
No, it's not a big lot. It's only about 6,000 square feet. But that's not the problem. The problem is
Condition.
the owner that lives in the house had a stroke.
Oh,
He's blind.
oh, shit.
He's a great guy. I love him to pieces. But he likes to sit on the front porch with no shirt on when it's warm. And he doesn't care.
Some people
And then his
drive up.
wife, I love her. I really, really care about her. I mean, I've grown close to these people, I really do.
After a year?
But she has terminal cancer, and she's very thin, and she goes for dialysis 3 times a week. And because of that, she's skinny as a rake, and she has to sleep a lot because the dialysis just wears her out. So you come into a house, and the husband now had some more strokes, and now he can't control his bodily functions.
Oh, gosh.
So you come into the house with that odor, nobody can keep the house clean.
It's a mess.
And God help them, nobody can see past this superficial stuff that's not gonna be here when you own the house.
Right.
None of their stuff's gonna be there, the kitchen's gonna be clean, or not clean, it's up to you. But they're not gonna be there, none of that stuff's gonna be there, the laminate floor's not gonna change, it still has new paint on the walls, it still has new carpet, it still looks gorgeous, it's still 3 blocks from Quartz Hill High.
What's that, a 90s build, 96?
1990. And none of that matters. People can't see through that. All they can see is, oh my gosh,
Stinks.
it smells, and it's dirty, and it's messy. And I am not exaggerating when I tell you at least 50 agents have shown that house.
Wow.
And the house right next door sold for $425 in a matter of weeks. And I can't sell this for $398. Condition is important. Yeah, obviously, it's even more important than location and price.
Especially if you
Now,
can't get financing.
if I put that on the market for $325, people would buy it without even going inside.
Yeah,
But they won't lower the price.
right.
So, condition is hugely important, and that's the perfect illustration. You gotta let people know, the cleanliness, the neatness of a house is so important. My very first listing was right over by the golf course on Pebble Way. And it was a beautiful 2,000 square foot house, gorgeous, 1990. But the problem is the lady, wherever her and her husband traveled, and they were wealthy, so wherever they traveled, if she picked something up in a store, she goes, oh, that's nice, and she'd put it back down, she'd walk away, her husband would go up and tell the clerk, I want you to package this up and send it to my house right away. And when she got home, oh, it's there. So her house was full of all this stuff.
Is there another husband like that?
Yeah, no, he's dead, sorry. The last of his kind. They died out with that guy.
It's a lot of tchotchkes.
But there's a lot of stuff in this house. Plus, to make it even better, the lady's daughter is a very famous artist. You guys know what fantasy art is?
No.
Like fairies and
Oh.
all that kind of stuff, right?
So there's all that.
And the lady, there's a lot of pieces of her art that you've seen on the cover of magazines and in books and all that. Original oil paintings all over the house. So people would come in and go, oh my God, look at the detail. And I would meet them at the door and I would say, please, whatever you do, don't look at the art. Just if you come in, will you please promise me that you'll just, yes, I will. And then I lead them in and I go, oh, her daughter painted that. I would say that. I would get confident. I'd say, isn't that incredible? Her daughter painted that. It's original oil painting.
So you
You gotta get that stuff out of the house.
Sounds like a curiosity shop.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, yeah, I didn't sell the house. It took me like
Did you
4
sell
or
the
5
art?
months to sell it. I had to get all that stuff out of the house. I'm serious, I had to get it all out of the house and make it look like nobody ever lived
Art
there.
auction.
I had a buyer once, and I was showing her a house over in West Lancaster. And I don't know if you guys know who Kathy is, but she paints all the signs on the
Oh, yeah.
Slashed by Kathy.
Right, so I was showing her house, and in her house, like, she has these murals that she painted to match, like, the decor of every room of the house that she painted in there. I could not get my client to focus on the house.
That's it.
Even after we left, and 2 days later, I was like, so, did you want to make an offer on that house? Well, which house was it? You know, the one with the painting. Do you, like, I wonder if she'll come back and do the murals. I was like, oh, what about the house? The bedrooms, remember the kitchen? It was, I don't remember. What did the kitchen look like? I just remember in the bedroom. I was just like, oh my God. Needless to say, we never made an offer on that house.
That's
We never
it.
did.
When you show houses, you show 4 or 5 or 6 houses, does your client remember the first 2 they looked at? No. They don't remember anything about it. So the thing is, if people are caught up looking at family portraits or they're caught up looking at paintings or knickknacks and stuff like that, man, that house is just not gonna sell. People don't remember the house. You have to streamline.
How about if you tell them to take pictures?
Did you take the pictures down?
Yes.
They can remember.
I mean, staging house is another subject, but definitely you need to take family pictures down. Let's talk about the two principles that two principles about markets and value provide a great foundation for pricing any real estate. I'm still on page 11. They are the market dynamics. Markets operate on the law of supply and demand. When supply is high and demand is low, prices fall. When supply is low and demand is up, prices increase. Does anybody know, can anybody give me the definition of absorption rate?
Supply and demand.
Okay, that's one way to put it, yes, but what does it?
If you had no other listings, say the absorption rate's 2.5, in 2.5 months, everything would be gone.
That's right. Absorption rate means that if no more houses came on the market right now,
And we only have.
at our current rate of consumption, when would we run out of inventory?
Maybe 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah, that's right. It's down to 2.27 months right
Wow.
now.
Wow.
And that's crazy, because at somewhere around 4.5 months, if you have more than 4.5 months of inventory, it becomes a buyer's market. Then the buyers can, I can put in offers all over town, I could ask for closing costs back, but below that, it becomes a seller's market. And at this rate, it's definitely a seller's market. As a matter of fact, does anybody know how many houses there are on the market right now?
About 900?
Less than
900
900.
for sale in the MLS?
There's not even 900, there's only 898.
The other two you already sold.
That's already sold.
Yeah, really, get your back straight, we're off by 2 years.
Sounds like a lot of houses, doesn't it? But think about it. How many people do you think are out there looking at houses today? 100?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. And when you look at how many houses sell in this valley, that's not a lot of inventory. We're very, very tight. Determination of value. Value is established based on an agreement between a willing seller and a willing buyer. That's true. The tug of war is always between what the seller wants and what the buyer is willing to pay. And that's very, very true. But that's not necessarily the marketing value. When you gotta put a house on the market to sell, you gotta make it look like a good deal. It has to look attractive. There's something that I want you guys to pass out. Take one of these and pass it around. We're gonna be getting to that in a few minutes.
This is what
Another question, is our current inventory rising or falling?
Falling.
It is falling. Our inventory is dwindling.
I thought the price.
No. And what are some of the factors in our community that are affecting this? Why is this happening?
Employment,
Employment, give me an example.
that big bomber thingy.
Northrop Grumman.
At Northrop Grumman has a big multi-billion-dollar contract, and it's bringing people into this valley, that's for sure. What else?
High-paying jobs.
High-paying jobs.
And soon, Amazon.com, they're trying to put a second headquarters, and there's
Oh
26
my gosh, if
cities.
that happens,
Oh, there's about 26 cities
bad.
that they're trying, and
That's
Palmer is
bad.
one of them.
What are they trying to do?
So that can bring about 50,000 jobs.
did you get that from Mayor Ledford's post on Facebook?
Yeah.
That's where I got it too.
But Amazon has destroyed Seattle's real estate
Yeah,
market.
Amazon.com.
Yeah.
Amazon has, because they pay, if you don't work there, you don't get that high of a paying job. So anyone who has lived in Seattle for a long time or whatever, they cannot afford houses anymore because the people who work at Amazon have raised the price so high, they're out marketing.
What
Yeah, I feel real bad about that.
What are they
But I was a real estate agent
Well, I do
there.
because my daughter lives there,
Now,
so.
what are they doing, putting in a jet runway or something?
A jet runway?
You said something they're building?
No,
No,
Amazon.
Amazon.
Amazon is
Amazon.com.
looking for a second headquarters in the United States. They've narrowed it down to just
Lancaster?
20 cities or something
Palmdale.
like that. And when you see the map on the 6 o'clock news and they show Los Angeles as one of those locations, the only reason I think it's Palmdale is Mayor Ledford
You mentioned it, yeah.
posted on Facebook that when they say that Palmdale's one of the locations. So I can only assume that instead of putting Palmdale, which nobody ever heard of, On the news, they're just showing Los Angeles, greater Los Angeles.
Could be Victorville.
But if it's really
Well, Mayor
Palmdale,
Ledford
well,
would-
Mayor Ledford should know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it is, I'm just saying Mayor Ledford posted on Facebook that it's Palmdale. And if that were to happen, oh my
That
gosh,
would be
property
crazy
values
for
would
us.
absolutely explode.
Yes.
That's a whole nother
Even
thing.
Cal City would be worth something.
Could
Well,
be.
we'd all have to live there.
No,
to
well,
afford
Mayor
that.
Ledford, no. So those are some of the things.
They don't know. It's been, all these people that are coming in for their contracting business for the claim here, a lot of them are still sitting at home, wherever they're at, waiting for clearance. That's why we haven't had anybody calling and saying, hey, we need to buy.
Oh, they're
Because
still waiting.
They're still waiting for the clearance. It's thousands of people that need to be here, and they're still waiting for their clearances. Once they're cleared, they come in, and then they're gonna clear the next bunch that they have waiting.
And then also another thing, I think
Good
like those
point.
big companies, they have their own realtors as well, I don't know.
Well, some of those companies have
Lucky and
relocation,
stuff,
but
they have
here's
their
what you
own-
gotta understand about that. Just because Northrop Grumman brings in 800 engineers or whatever, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And I mean tip of the iceberg, because if you have 800 people moving into this area, that's how many more people are in that family. One person in that family works for Northrop Grumman, and he may have 3 or 4 kids and a wife. And then that goes on and on and on, and then you need more restaurants, and you need more gas stations, and you need more places to shop. And 800 people coming into a community like this makes a world of difference. And that drives up prices because
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand.
supply and demand.
So new developers,
Inventory is
new
down.
contractors, new home construction. And.
So where do we
To
start?
price accurately and to price to sell, you must constantly study the conditions in your local market. I'm on page 12. And in the specific neighborhoods where you want to specialize. Here are some basic factors to watch. Inventory, how much is for sale, and is inventory rising or falling? Days on the market. Anybody know what the average number of days on the market is right now?
35?
As of December 17th, it was 53 days on the market, but that's an average. You take houses like mine on Almond Valley Way,
Excuse it.
it skews the average a lot. The median is closer to 28 days.
I said 32.
Yeah, there you go.
If you
Well,
throw out the
a year
outliers.
ago, I mean, in December 2016, it was 32 days. In December
There you go.
2017, it was 28 days. And where is this information available?
Yeah.
On Gavar. Gavar's a very good source for this area. And if you go to the first page on Gavar and you go to the, where is that section?
They have graphs at the bottom of the homepage.
Yeah, and if you go to menu, click on that, down here are statistics. You see this? Market summary, my market, inventory and production. All that's valuable information. So before you go on a listing appointment, you're gonna want to know what's going on in that particular neighborhood. You wanna be prepared for it, right? Does that make sense? And there's all those statistics that I gave you and many, many, many more are available on Gavar. Now, I said that there were 898 properties available in the Antelope Valley, right? But guess how many are limited to Palmdale and Lancaster? Because that also includes Cal City, Moron, it includes Mojave, and Rosemont, and so on and so on, Cal
So
City.
that probably brings it down to the mid-3s.
It's 479 houses are available, and that includes condominiums. 479 available in Palmdale and Lancaster. So is the market tight? Yes, the market's very, very tight. That's why the last 2 houses I put on the market, I got 4 offers on both of them in a week. It wasn't just that. I also had them priced right, which we're gonna talk about, and I took gorgeous photographs. The clients listened to what I said, and they spent money on their homes to get them ready to sell. But they got 2 or 3 times that amount back in selling their house for over list. Both houses sold over list in less than a week with 4 offers.
Because of the nice photos, the.
All of it, all of it. It starts with knowing what the house is worth. And sometimes it's tricky because this was probably the nicest house in that neighborhood. So it takes a little bit of research, and I'll let you guys are gonna be doing that in a few minutes. Where were we? Okay.
Researching the market. I don't-
Getting the facts about pricing means evaluating a given property against other comparable properties. This means comparing your client's 20-year-old 3-bedroom, 2-bath property in a neighborhood of similarly built homes with homes that sold recently that match or come very close to matching the particulars of their home. The following factors come into play when looking for comparable properties: location, size, amenities, and condition. And out of all of those, which one is the most important?
Location.
Location is number one, and I'm telling you,
Location.
number two is just as important. I'm gonna tell you a real brief story, really quick. I used to sell cars for people. In other words, people that had a car, they knew they could get more if they sold it themselves, rather than turning it into a dealership, but they would rather have a root canal. A lady told me, I'd rather have a root canal.
You're a broker.
So I said, yeah, I was serving as a broker. I said, you would pay me to sell your car? She goes, yeah, I'd pay you to sell my car. How much would you pay me? $400.
That's
$450. This was 20 years ago. Okay. And so I sold a bunch of cars. And one time, my friend, the same one that I sold a bunch of houses for, they came to me and they said, man, would you sell our what's the car made in Sweden?
Volvo?
Volvo. Would you sell this Volvo for us? It's really not running well, and the transmission is slipping all the time, and it's just ready to go any minute. We're going on vacation, going to go on a cruise. So I looked at their car, and how many people have heard of Earl Scheib?
Oh, yeah.
Earl Scheib.
Hello.
Back then, it was $59.
$59.95.
$9.95. You get that car painted. So the body looked good. The paint was horrid. It was terrible. And the car ran horrible, and everything was horrible about the car, except the body was true. No dents or anything.
And that $59 paint job.
So I got a $59 paint job. You know the little vents that are by the hood where the rainwater comes off the windshield and goes down those vents? There were globs of paint hanging from those little pieces of metal. That's how cheap the paint job was.
Oh, wow.
But it was shiny and it was pretty. The point I'm trying to make is, and I cleaned it, I detailed the car inside and out. It looked pretty. It ran horrible, and its transmission was slipping, but I sold that car for top dollar to a guy who had just gotten a new job and he wanted to look fly when he went to work.
And he didn't care about the transmission slipping,
No!
because that's
He even
expensive.
told me, I says, dude, the transmission's ready to fall out of this thing. You might want to get that checked, and it's not running very well. I think it needs a new carburetor, and God only knows what that's gonna cost. He goes, I don't care, I look good in this car. All the time. And it's the same thing with houses. It's the same thing with houses. If the windows are clean, carpet's clean, the house looks pretty and shiny, people will pay top dollar for it. They won't even, they might have been thinking on the way to the house, unless it has copper plumbing, I'm not gonna buy it. But when they get there and it looks pretty, they forget about all of that. They just wanna buy it, they can't wait. And if you got pretty pictures, people will flock to that house. I'm telling you, photography and all that stuff is very important. So, number one is location, number two is the condition of the property. All right, page 13. What are current local market statistics in our targeted area? Days on the market?
20.
We're at 2.27 months, that's our absorption rate right now. I don't know what the average price per square foot is, somebody would have to look that up.
Was it 2.27?
Yeah, that's good. That's not days on
It
market.
depends on the area.
How many days?
Days
It
on
really
market
does.
is 28, you said, right?
I thought
Now
so.
it's like 53.
It's good to have a working knowledge of what the square footage is, what the price per square footage is of properties. But there's so many factors that are involved there, it's maybe not the most important one. And it confuses people that a big house has a very low price per square foot, and a smaller house has a very high price per square foot. Why is that? Does anybody know why that is the case?
I'm gonna take a stab at it. Are houses sold on square footage? Is that it, or totally wrong? I don't know. I'm new.
No, what I'm saying is
The price
you'll
per
see
square
houses
foot. Oh,
where-
price per
Or
square.
the price of
Where
the
the
land.
price on a big two-story house is 3,000 square feet, it might be $128 per square foot. And then you look at a one-story house in the same neighborhood, it's 1,300 square feet, and now it's $185 per
Cheaper to
square
build a big
foot.
house.
It's for the price of the land.
It's cheaper to
Exactly.
build.
The price of the land.
No.
But what's
It's
the
cheaper.
house?
Go ahead.
You had your hand up first.
It doesn't cost that much more to add the square footage, basically.
That's you guys are both right. The reality is there are certain factors that are constant, whether you're building a two-story, a big house, small house, it doesn't matter. The water meter's gonna cost the same. Gas line's pretty much gonna cost the same. Now, there's a lot of factors that are about the same. Whether you do a 1,300 square foot slab of concrete, or you do a 1,800 square foot and build up, it's really not that much difference. You have a little bit bigger foundation, but it doesn't matter. There's a lot of costs that are constant, whether you're building a big house or a small house, and the cost of the land doesn't change. 7,000 square feet of land is 7,000 square feet of land, whether you're building a big house or a small house.
And labor's about the same, maybe an extra day, that's not that much.
Yeah, a couple extra days, something like that. And
So the cost of a bigger house is smaller than.
It comes down to economies of scale.
that's right, economies of scale, that's one way to put it. All right, so we've already determined that our sources for local market statistics are GABAR for us, for the most part, right? What are some other sources of information about statistics in your area?
Is there RPR,
The
NRPR?
National Association of
Which
Realtors,
is-
CAR.
National Associate Card can provide information. What else? What else that might be really local?
Title companies.
That's right. Now that's gonna be your biggest source. As soon as possible, even if you don't have your license, you can get established with a title company. Get to know somebody. Get to know Frank Donato at First American. He's one of the most knowledgeable people in this business. And that guy knows a lot about a million different subjects. Really great guy, First American. And get set up on one of their websites. I use Fidelity just because I started with them and Frank was with them in the beginning. He switched over to First American, and I find their website very easy to use. So I can look up any address in the country on their website, and I can tell you the size of the house, I can tell you the size of the lot, how many bedrooms, how many baths, who owns it, and how many people have owned it, all the details about it that I need to know. And it gives you what the assessed value is through the county, which is not hugely important except when it comes down to determining the taxes.
They have an app on First AM and,
So does Chicago.
All of these guys have apps, Chicago Title, Lawyers Title. So title is very, very, very important. And also you can get information from your lenders. Lenders will be happy to help you with that, okay? Any ahas from what we've covered so far? Any ahas? Anything that stands out?
So, I know you're gonna cover this, so you don't put a lot of credence into price per square then?
If it's a line.
I don't really, it's what it's gonna sell for is what counts. Now, if you look at your house and you go, man, the price per square foot at this rate is $164 per square foot, but everything around here is going for $124 a square foot, you might have a problem. So yeah, you do have to look at that. The people that really look at price per square foot are investors and other agents, and appraisers, of course. Right.
How much, just as an aside, relating to this whole thing, lot size? So let's say the land's in LA, one lot's 3,000, the other one's 6,000. I'm looking at price per square, it's a little less, but I'm like, you're getting an extra 2,000 square feet of land there. I mean, here land's not as big of a deal.
Yeah, the cost of land in all areas is not as significant as the size of the house, of course. That's much more significant. But it's a bigger deal in Los Angeles and in that area than it is up here. An acre of land down there might be crazy amount of money, crazy.
Even 6,000 square feet.
An acre of land down there, or even a lot down there, may cost as much as a house and a lot up here.
Couple.
But up here, if you've got a house that is sitting on a 7,000 square foot lot versus 10,000 square foot lot, it's not gonna make that much difference. As a matter of fact, the one on the smaller lot could be worth more.
Sure.
What really matters is the condition of the property and the location.
And buyers, if that's important to your buyers, some buyers don't want a lot of property to take care of.
When you do your buyer broker consultation, that's one of the questions you need to ask. Are you looking for a small, medium, or a large yard? Because to a buyer that wants a small yard and you show them houses with big, they don't want that work. It doesn't mean anything to them.
Or vice versa.
And the same thing goes for pools. You think pools add a lot of value to houses? They don't. They add $15,000-$20,000 to the value of a house. Even if that pool costs $80,000 to build, it's only gonna add $15,000 or $20,000. And there's a whole lot of people that say no to pools.
My sister filled it in,
Yeah, there you go.
covered it.
I know agents that bought houses with pools and they jackhammered the pools and turned them into sandboxes.
Yeah,
So the water can drain through. Okay.
Tried to ask, how much
Page
does it cost
15,
to
know
take
what
it
the
out?
seller and you can and can't control. An important part of the pricing process is to help your sellers understand that agents and sellers do not determine the purchase price of their home. Instead, the market determines the price. And one way you would convey that is while you're there with the client, before you even talk about the price, when you're about to, you say, Mr. Seller, you would understand, you do understand, right, that you don't get to name the price of your house, and I really don't even get to say what the price of your house is. The market determines the price. Would you agree to that?
Yep.
And they'll probably say, yeah, but. You say, no, no buts, the market determines the value of the house, we don't get to. Let's look at the numbers. That's really important that they understand that. Right here's a script. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, some of the things you can control during the selling process are the condition of your property. This is a great script, right? By the way, I can see that right now. Because you're telling them in a sideways way of doing it, you need to make sure your property looks good.
And you're out of the way.
The availability of your home for showings and your positioning in the market. In the end, value is determined solely by what a buyer is willing to pay in today's market, based on comparing your home to others currently on the market for sale. I don't determine value, and neither do you. The market determines value. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
You want them to buy in on this, so that what they're about to hear may not be what they want to hear, but it has to be what they need to hear. Yes.
You've heard the saying, the seller makes the price and the buyer sets the price, or is it the other way around?
No, I've never heard that expression.
Yeah.
Say it again?
I think it goes like this, the seller makes the price and the buyer sets the price.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think that's how it goes.
probably true, yeah. Understand the window of opportunity. That's where that handout comes in. The best chance, are you guys all on page 15?
Yes, I am.
The best chance to sell a home is when it first comes on the market. Sellers need to be clear on this, that there is a window of opportunity that opens and closes quickly. The following graphics depicts how buyer interest climbs rapidly when a listing hits the market and declines after the first month. Notice on this graph, it says activity level. When most offers are received are these are weeks. 4, 5, and 6 is when you get the most number of, and that depends on the market. I would move that back. I would move that back to more like week 2 and 3 right now. Now, here's this, I don't know why they don't include this graph. I use this graph on every listing appointment I go on. I explain to people that, look, here's the fair market value of your house. And this is put out by California Association of Realtors, not by Keller Williams. Look at this pyramid shape.
What page is that?
This is the handout that I gave you. Does everybody have one? Use these on your listing presentations. If we put it at perfectly market value, not a penny above, not a penny below, your house is worth $230,000, we're gonna put it on the market for $230,000. 60% of the people looking at your price range and in your neighborhood are gonna come by your house. And out of that, you might get a few offers. And explain to them, it's important to get multiple offers if we can. That way we can weed out the weak ones. Because you guys will be surprised how many offers that you get are crap. People are gonna give you offers, real estate agents are gonna give you offers, just trying to see what's gonna stick. And they don't have a pre-approval letter, or if they do, it's with a lender you never heard of, or they don't include the FICO scores, and then you find out these people have not good FICO scores, or there's very little money down that they're putting on the house, and maybe none, and they're asking for closing costs. All those things make weak offers. And maybe here's here's the pecking order. Cash is king, then conventional, then FHA, and at the bottom are VA offers. So if you can get cash offers, that's cash is king, or conventional.
What is VA,
Because it costs so much.
Because it's so easy to walk away from it. There's no skin in the game.
And it costs the seller
There's
a
no
lot
money
of money.
down.
They want
Costs
The
the
seller
seller.
has to pay the closing
This
costs.
is a VA?
For
Oh,
VA.
really, it has to, it's a mandatory?
They have to.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
wow.
buyer cannot pay their own closing costs, the seller has to pay it. So anyhow, back to our graph. If you go 10% over the market value, I told you your house was worth 230,000. You go 10% over, 243,000 or whatever, then you only get 30% of people looking in your area and in your price range coming to see your house. Go 15% above market value and now it's down to 10. You're lucky to get an offer. Then you can switch over to this other graph and you can say, and the longer your house stays on the market, the less you're gonna get for it. And there is a point at which you actually make less than your house is worth. I'll never sell my house for less than what it's worth. You know what? In about 4 months, you probably will. When you're sick of people coming through your house, and you're sick of keeping it clean, and you wanna move on to your next plan, you will sell your house for less than its market value. And other people will say, let me just make this one point. Other people will say, I'm not in a hurry. I don't have to sell it.
Right.
Then why are we here?
If someone offers you the market of whatever you listed your home for, do you have to sell it? No, right?
If it's
No,
cash.
that's right.
Even if
No,
they
you don't.
qualify, even if there's nothing
Any
wrong
offer.
with the offer, the seller at that point doesn't have to sell that house.
No, but then he's got a problem with you and your commission.
Right.
I mean, you marketed his house, you brought him a full price offer, he owes you a commission.
Okay, at that point you can
Yeah,
just.
I mean, you're entering into a contract, and by the way, your contracts are not your contracts. Your contracts are owned by this brokerage, which provides you protection, but it also provides a responsibility. You don't get to make a decision. You know, if somebody were to want out of a contract, you better talk it over with your broker, because that's his contract, not yours. It's very, very important to price houses correctly and to know what they're worth. All right,
That's up to us.
number 4 on page 16. Price to reflect market movement. Pricing requires facts and numbers, yet it's also an art. The art of persuasion. Choosing the right comparable properties is a big step in the right direction, but there's much more to it. Your job is, as the listing agent, is to help your sellers understand how the right price impacts the marketability and stability. Saleability. That's a funny word. Saleability. Of their home. Marketability and saleability are also determined by the following: market direction, whether the market is appreciating or depreciating. And right now, the market is appreciating. Use that information sparingly, by the way. And number 2, market speed of change. How quickly prices are changing and what the rate of change is. When I told you that I was buying and selling properties through Leslie Goen when I first met her, I probably did about 10 transactions with her. It was because property values were going up at that time $2,000 a month. That is a crazy rate of change. But they're not going up that fast now. It's a much more conservative market. Number 5, don't chase the market price ahead of it. Let the market chase you. And that's one of the lines I use with buyers. Do you want, and I used to do listing appointments with Christine Halajian all the time. She always remembered it, and sometimes I would forget it. But when we're talking about how to price a home, we want to price a home to sell. Sellers want to price a home to do what?
Make money.
To make how much money?
Most.
To make everything they're ever dreamed of, right, on that house. But they don't get anything if it doesn't sell, and guess what? You don't get anything either. So everybody's got to be on the same page. We want to price this house to sell. And Christine would always remember, do you want to chase the market, or do you want the market to chase you? Because if the market's chasing you, you're gonna make more money in the end. Now, the other thing is, remember I said that our objective is to get multiple offers on the property? Because we want to weed out the weak offers, but also the good offers, we can pit them against each other. Get a little competition going. And drive up the price. And that happened on both of my last 2 transactions. I told you I had 4 offers, right? And we countered all of them. And we said, give us your highest and best. And the weaker people dropped out, and the stronger people remained. And both of those houses sold for about $3,000 over list. Actually, one sold for $3,000, the other one sold for $6,000 over list.
Did they appraise for that?
Yes. The appraisal is another opportunity for you to use the art of persuasion. If you meet the appraiser and you're dressed nice and you're there early and you open the door, you turn the air conditioner on in the summer, you turn the heater on in the winter, you turn all the lights on in the house.
He's gonna like you.
You've got a nice packet right there. Look, I provided you a title summary, just like when you go on a listing appointment. Here's a summary of the title right there. Here are some comps for you, cherry picked by me, of course. I'm serious. I'm serious. A lot of times, these guys are in a hurry too. They're trying to do 4, 5, 6 appraisals that week.
Yep.
And if you make their job easier, they're gonna give you what you want. And I also include a copy of the contract, at least the first page. And if there's a seller multiple counteroffer, or any of the counteroffers that show what we negotiated, this is my target. This is my target. This is what we're shooting for. In other words, you would make my life a lot easier if you would give me this price. Guess what? They will give it to you. If you're friendly and you're professional and you look them in the eye when you shake their hand, remember this about shaking hands. You always shake the other person's hand just a little bit stronger than they shake yours. Just a little bit. You don't crush it. She's a lady. She shakes like a lady. You don't crush your hand. Just a little bit firmer. And you look them in the eye. And you give them that packet. You're going to win the day. I promise you. You will get your price. And guess what? Guess who gets their price every time?
Ken Mitchell.
Ken Mitchell. He gets his price every time. And there you go. And guess what? I'll also point out features, because these guys are in a hurry, man.
I called them.
I said, guys, call them and they get it. You just be professional. And you point out the features that they may not see. And the house on Taos, 221 Taos, I got that because I was pointing out the features. I said, did you happen to notice that all of the wood in this house is red oak? It's not oak, it's red oak. Red oak, everywhere. And I guess what? This is not laminate, this is red oak. 1 inch thick red oak flooring. And I showed them every feature of the house. Because in the kitchen, if you were to look at the lenses, these, whatever you call those pieces of plastic right there.
That's what they are.
If you were to look at the lenses in their kitchen, you would go, man, where do they get those? They're stained glass.
Really?
They're stained glass made by the seller. And he reinforced his ceiling to hold the weight.
Wow.
Tell an appraiser that. That makes a difference. Everything makes a difference. Anyway, back to this. Don't chase the market, let the market chase you. In a rising market, sellers who feel it's time is on their side may price above the current market and hope the market will catch up and bring them the price they want, provided the market continues to rise. Sellers who want to cash in on improving prices in rising markets are still well advised to price at the market to get a sale now and move on with their lives. That's the objective. When prices are falling, sellers make a huge mistake by pricing too high, hoping to attract the offer they want and thinking they will drop the price later if that strategy doesn't work. The reality is that most sellers who do this never correct enough to keep up with price reality. Again, this is chasing the market. Sellers who price right will get the buyers while the listing that's chasing the market down will take longer to sell. There's a house over on, can't remember the name of the street, but it's in West Lancaster. I just happen to be selling this house. on the same street as another Keller Williams agent, just 4 doors from my house. They did not convince their client of all of this. And their client went in very high. Their client went in like $340,000, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago. And I convinced my client to go in at like $300,000. And he had a lot of extra features in his house because he was a master craftsman carpenter. And he had done a lot of cool stuff to his house. But I convinced him to go in and so that his house looked like a good deal. It looked like a good deal, especially compared to hers. Guess what? I got 5 offers on that house before she even got 1.
You did best and
I did highest and best. And they ended up selling for less than that house was worth.
Because of you.
Well, no, I actually sold at a great price, because what I ended up doing is exactly what I said. I went up with highest and best, and I ended up selling it for over list.
Right.
They sold it for under list. That's the point.
Also, one of the things we need to find out is what's the reason they're selling, what's their timeline, what's their motivation. If they're really not really motivated and there's not an urgency, then, not emergency, but urgency, then they won't care. They don't understand the fact that if it stays on the market, eventually they're not gonna get as much. So the motivation is important for us to know, then we know how to approach them at that point, right?
That's exactly true. And the one piece of knowledge that you need to take out of that is that everybody wants to sell their house for as much as they can, right? Of course. And if you tell them that the longer this house is on the market, the less you're going to make, guess what? You need to price it right. We need to price it right now. Even if you're not in a hurry, that's not the issue. The issue is you want to make as much money on this house as possible, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so are we on the same page about that? Yes, we are. Then the sooner it sells, the better, not the longer it sells. Let's price it right. Let's price it competitively. Let's price it so that we have multiple offers. Let's price it so it happens quickly. You don't have to take months and months showing your house and keeping it clean. Let's do the right thing and price this at the right price. Let's be competitive. It's got to look like a good deal to drive that traffic and then refer back to this. This is it. And these other illustrations as well. Okay. Pricing right is hard work, but it's worth it because it gets I'm on page 18. Get your sellers to their goals and you make money for your business. Professional honesty is your best approach. It means understanding where the customers are coming from and being professional enough to stand up for them and tell them the truth about tough topics such as market conditions, property condition, features, amenities, location, buyer and buyer agent feedback, comparable property sales. When I first started at Keller Williams Agent, we had a coach here by the name of Michelle. Michelle, I really liked her. She would say to people, Michelle Anderson, she would say, "Sir, ma'am, do I have your permission to tell you the truth?" And we go, of course you do. Because what I'm going to tell you, you might not like hearing. So I just wanted to make sure that you understand, do I have your permission to tell you the absolute truth? Yes. And then they're open, at least they're pretending to be open. And then you can tell them what the truth is. And they've just agreed to at least listen to you and to receive it. That's a good line. Remember that line. That's a nugget right there.
What did you say? Do I have your permission?
Do I have your permission to tell you just the truth? The whole truth, or whatever you want to say.
Nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth, so whatever. So, do I have your permission to tell you the truth? Because some people don't want to hear the truth. That's the other part of it. Some people don't. They want you to tell them what they want to hear.
Have you ever heard anybody say, "No, I do not want to hear the truth"?
No, I don't think I have.
Do you ever ask a seller, like, what do you think your house is worth?
You can do that. There's a danger in that. Because now you're pitting you against them. I have done that before and it's worked some of the time and then other times it kind of backfired on me.
Do you think it's okay to go with your laptop, show the closed properties comparable to them, and show them the inside pictures of those properties compared to their property, and say, okay, here's what we got, here's what's sold, and so what do you think we should price your home for?
Yeah, that's kind of the better approach. You remember the script, the more important script is the one where you get to say to them, look, you don't get to determine what the value of your house is, and I really don't get to determine the value of your house. What determines the value of your house is the market. That's really the determining factor. And then there's another example that I used to use, and that is have you ever bought, when was the last time you bought a commodity item? Like a TV. If you were to buy a television set, let's say they were exactly the same, 54-inch flat screen TV, high definition, 4D, and you saw it at Walmart for $350, and the same TV was over here at Best Buy for $450, where would you go?
Cheaper.
Best Buy.
I'd go to Walmart. I wouldn't
Never
be,
go to Walmart.
I says, but would you go over here to Best Buy first and then go to Walmart?
Sure.
Or would you go to Walmart first and then Best Buy? I wouldn't bother going to Best Buy. I'm just gonna go to Walmart. Well, that's why your house needs to be priced at a great price.
That's what the.
That's why it needs to look
shown
competitive.
around.
It needs to look like a good deal. Do you want people to look at your listing and say, man, that's a deal, we gotta go see that house? Or do you want them to look at your listing and go, that person's out of their mind? And then just wait for them to answer. No, you want them to say, that's a good deal, we gotta go look at that house. So that's super, super important.
I like that.
Do I have your permission to tell you the truth? Because some people don't wanna hear the truth.
And he has commands, he waits for it.
Your pauses, you're gonna learn that in Toastmasters. Your pauses are just as important as the things you say.
Can the seller use a certified appraisal and put that in like agent remarks and say, you know, certified appraisal said the house is worth $360 and the price is, let's say, $359 or $364? In other words, it's
Who would
been
provide the appraisal?
the seller.
The seller.
Yeah,
That's about a $500 cost.
plus 300, 500 for, yeah. Is it?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, on some properties, yes. Like if it's $1 million property or it's something that is commercial or it's something, but they're gonna expect you to know what the house is worth. At least give them a range.
Or in cases where there is no comparables.
Yeah, there are cases where there's no comparables, but the thing is, the appraiser's not gonna have any comparables either.
Right.
I did that on a house in Green Valley. These people, they built this big house, huge, 5,000 square feet. If you've ever been to Green Valley, all the houses are little. They're mostly a lot of land and a little house. This was a whole lot of house. And a custom built home, they spent a lot of money on it, and now we're gonna put it on the market, and she hired an appraiser.
What is
The
it?
appraiser said, oh, guess what, it's only worth $450,000.
And that's-
She wanted 1.2 million.
Oh,
Because she goes, when you look at my address, it says Santa Clarita. I said, yeah, but you're not in Santa Clarita.
you need to move the
Your
house.
address may say Santa Clarita, but your house is in Green Valley. And all the houses around here are about 1,500 square feet. There are no comps for your area. We have to go to Leona Valley or way out and find properties. And anyhow, so I didn't get the listing.
They overbuilt.
Remember, she didn't want to hear what the truth was. And another agent got the listing and spent a whole lot of money on it, and it never sold. It expired.
And then you picked it up.
But now, she called me. She called me back.
It says 10 minutes ago.
No, it wasn't 10 minutes ago. She called me a few weeks ago and actually came to see me and,
Shows you're right.
yeah, because I want you to list my house when I get back from vacation. It will be more than what it appraised for, but it'll be somewhere in between what she actually
I'm gonna
wanted.
look for that 5,000 square foot house in Green Valley.
Yeah, it'll be coming on the market, but not until like June.
I don't know.
She's on a world cruise right now.
Getting tchotchkes.
Yep, getting tchotchkes. All right, where were we? Page 19.
Let's take 10 straight
Pricing
west.
strategies, work with a
Now.
partner. Put the essence of the critical
Wrong
pricing
one to look at.
strategies below in your own words. Take no more than 1 minute of explanation per point. Challenge yourself to communicate only the basic idea. Refer to the preceding pages as needed. And there's 2 people at your table. Please partner up with that person, but you're leaving. Thank you very much. Could I get some ahas from this experiment?
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went over everything we talked about in class, basically, right?
Summary.
Yeah, it was like a summary, a culminating activity, bringing it all together.
And how did you feel? Did you feel more empowered?
Yes,
After you had this knowledge?
yes.
You understand some techniques?
I feel victimized by myself.
You see how much we have in common, even though, you know, like the houses are in different locations, but the same situations that, you know, two different agents are having is the same situation, you know, about selling the house.
The situation is the same, but how you respond to it makes a world of difference. And it makes a world of difference on whether you're gonna get that listing or not.
The whole chasing the market thing is my
There you go. That's a good aha.
What
Do
was
you
her?
wanna chase the market, or do you want the market to chase you?
Yes, sir.
Right? Let's do the right thing and price the house in a way that the market will be chasing you. That resonates with people. Do I have your permission to speak the truth? Because some people don't wanna hear the truth.
That's one thing, like, we were just talking about our two different listings, like, we went to our sellers and we spoke the truth. We told them what needed to happen, and they wouldn't take it from us. Our listings, either we had to agree about withdrawing the property or having it expire, and then another agent comes in, and what we just told them need to happen, they did with the other agent right away.
So
Damn.
what's the problem then?
Their ego.
Maybe because you were the messenger.
Yeah.
You shot the messenger.
Right.
So that's why you preface it with, do I have your permission to tell you the truth?
In the
Because,
chasing the market scenario, because
Mhm.
I didn't have that in my dialogue, the chasing the market thing, it sat there forever. I never got one offer, and it expires next week, she's down 30,000 where I told her she should be and sells instantly. So that other person had a better dialogue than I did.
how often does this kind of thing happen?
But that's happened to me once.
It
I,
happens all the time.
the thing about, my seller was, I think in his head, he was thinking that I wasn't working hard enough for him. And it's just that he wasn't listening when I was telling him that we need to be priced here to get offers coming in on your house. You know, let's do it that way. Let's get offers coming in. And you can always, if the offer's too low, you can always reject the offer. You don't have to accept an offer when it comes in. That's because you own the house. But let's get offers coming in. Let's get people who are qualified, looking to buy your house. Instead, no, this is what I want and this is what I want. You know?
Some people, the most important thing to them is that their agent work hard.
Yep.
I want you working hard for me.
For that money.
Is that more important?
What's-
Is that what's gonna sell a house?
For that 1%.
Yeah,
Was-
for that 1%. No, what's gonna sell a house is working smarter and pricing it in such a way that it looks like any other ahas.
Make sure Ken Mitchell doesn't come in after your listing.
Yeah, right. Anything else?
Well, the ahas, I like when you said that, when you sit down with them and just say, just wanna let you know that you and I, we are not the decision makers as far as the work and the value of your house.
That's right.
So they're like, what do you mean? And then you explain what you mean. Or just say, do you want your house to sell right away, or you want it to sit on the market for a while? What do you?
Well, I'm okay with it sitting on the market. I just
Oh,
need to get the
okay.
price that I want.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you're okay
exactly.
with your house staying on the market? Well, just want to let you know, Mr. Seller, that as long as your house stays on the market, and less money you're gonna get for it, because as it stays on the market for a long time, people are gonna think that there's something wrong with your house, but in reality, there's nothing wrong with your house.
That's true. It's like a piece of fruit that hangs on the vine for too long. After a while,
Or the
nobody
pizza.
wants it.
You sold that.
Pizza on the counter.
So I
Needs on
just
the
wanna
counter.
know really what you wanna do. Do you want it to sit on the market for a long time?
No, I want you to sell it at a reasonable price and make money.
Okay,
That's-
so, yeah, I thought so.
Sometimes sellers sometimes just have to learn the hard way.
Well, actually, if they
Well,
do
yeah,
it the
that's
hard
true.
way, it's hard on us too, because
It's-
nothing happens.
It's hard on you too, because then you got a bunch of expires, you
Yeah.
got all of the expense. $600 is a lot of money, man.
Plus your time.
Plus your time, all that time that you spent driving to that, all the time I drove down to Aqua Dulce and showed that house. I'm telling you, 5 or 6 open houses. You know what chocolate covered strawberries cost? Huge, it's like $45 for a dozen of them.
That's a lot of
Crazy
money.
amount of money.
Yeah.
And not that we had to do that, we did it, we just thought that we just didn't know what we didn't know.
Did that
We
house
weren't
ever
familiar
sell?
with the market. You know, the house went to another agent, it expired with us, the guy said he was never gonna give it to anybody else who really liked me, didn't like the other agent I was working with.
Did it sell?
But, I haven't looked at it for a while, it might be sold by now.
I noticed
All right,
that you
let's-
do, put a lot of like the wine, crackers and cheese, champagne, strawberry. So the alcohol, is there like something behind the alcohol?
You get them.
You can't sell it.
I believe in the one for you, one for me serving technique.
Okay.
One for you, one for me.
Are you able
One for you
to
too.
make them sound when they get actually drunk?
No, they actually have a picture.
No, you know, and I've gotten away from that, it really doesn't do any good, I thought it was gonna really warm people up.
The
and make them feel
champagne?
like the more they hang around the house, the more likely they are to buy. The truth is, serious buyers, they're not moved by that.
Yeah.
All they care about is the bottom line.
And those guys hanging around the house when
Just give them
potential
water.
buyers come in, they're pointing out everything that they saw that's wrong with the house, like, oh man, did you see that edge moving right there? What's this chip?
Yeah, the longer they stay there, the more they can find wrong with the house. No, I've changed my mind about that, I don't do that much anymore. All right, page 20, the CMA, comparative market analysis, we will be spending the rest of our precious time on this. CMA is a process by which a property that we listed is evaluated against other comparable properties to determine a recommended list price. Use the CMA to present information to help sellers understand and accept the right price for their home. The CMA process includes the following. Search the MLS for properties that correspond to the subject property, the one you were pricing, using the 4 main criteria: location, size, amenities, and condition. Number 2, select a small number of recently sold properties and properties pending sale that you believe represent the closest comparisons to your seller's property. The number of comparables available will be impacted by market conditions. Number 3, decide on a price to recommend to your seller that takes into account the comparables, your seller's motivation and goals. So these 2 factors you've got to be looking at. How motivated is this person to sell, and why are they selling? One of the most important things you can ask early on when you first meet them is, Mr. Seller, what are you going to do when you sell your house? What's the plan? Why are you selling? Because that makes a big difference on how you're going to approach them. Also, you need to have a little bit of conversation. Are you guys all familiar with the, what is it? What do they call it? You know, whether somebody's a D or an S or personality profile. Are you familiar with the personality profile? You're looking like you're not.
Little.
Well, it's hugely important because.
Oh, I did, yeah.
How you approach a D is entirely different than how you approach an I.
What's a D, what's an I?
All right, you've got to find out about this. You need to study this. The DISC profile, D-I-S-C, hugely important. And you can sum up people in a minute on whether they're a D, S, C, or I.
Watch how you're summing me up.
A D is dominant. It's a dominant personality. They call the shots. They're bottom line people. They just want the facts. They don't give a crap about you or anything. All they care about are results. They are people at the top of corporations. They send heads rolling by the hundreds, without hesitation, sleep like babies. But they want the bottom line and they want it now. I don't want a friendly conversation with you about fishing and your grandchildren and all that crap. I want to know how much my house is worth, what you can get for it, and I want that contract ready right now. And I mean, I've gone to those listing presentations. Person took one look at me and wanted to sign the contract.
Damn.
I'm not kidding, because they are bottom line people. How much is my house worth? I've got to move to Arizona. I'm being transferred. What is my house worth? They sum you up in about a second. If they like you, give me the contract. You say my house is worth 320,000, where do I sign? Let's get this done.
Wow.
Yeah.
And none of this
They're not
conversation, they don't want any of that stuff, forget it. And S is the opposite. And S is all about feelings. Feelings.
Emotional.
What was the
They're all
I
about,
again?
and I'm mocking it because I'm not an S.
I'm not an S.
But they're the quintessential mom. Mrs. Jones.
Nurturing.
Mrs. Jones, this is what happens when you're showing them houses. Mrs. Jones, would you like to go see the next house now? And she says, Johnny, are you okay with going to see the next house? Susie, are you okay? Talks to each one of the kids. Billy, are you okay? Honey, can we go see another house now? Is everybody feeling like we should go see another house now? And you can always tell them because they talk about feelings, you know, I just don't feel it. This house just doesn't speak to me. And you're like, what are you talking about? Because you're not an S, but an S would understand that. They go, oh yeah, man, and they're hugging. And I mean, agents that are S's love clients that are S's, and they love each other. It's a big love fest, man. But that's how they make decisions. And in listing presentations, you can't rush them. If they feel like you want to just reach down their throat and pull the answer out, they hate you. They're afraid of you. So you have to approach them the same way. How do you feel about your house? Why did you buy this house in the first place? Tell me what you love about this house before I sell it. Because that's what I'm going to use. For you and me, yeah, but for them, that's the juice, man. It's all about, this house made me feel like, it just made me feel like home when I walked in. I'm going to put that in the listing book. If you want a house that feels like, in the listing description, if you want a house that feels like home, this is it. All right, so then there are C's. C's are very important because C's are decision makers, but they're engineers. These are the guys that have a drawer with socks and the blues, the browns, the blacks, and everything else.
Very detailed.
I'm telling you, they're very detailed. They're very into information. The more information you can give them, the better. Data. They make decisions slowly, but when they make them, they stand by them. If you can win them over with lots of information and data, they love stuff like that. An S would just glaze over.
Yeah, so would a D, yeah.
You just see it pass.
A C will take a 2.5, plan for, if you have a C, plan a listing presentation that's about 2.5 hours.
But you don't know until you get there.
I know, that's true. Or maybe a conversation. No, you know what? When you understand this process, you'll meet him at the door and you'll know by the time you're done with that conversation what they are.
And sometimes you can tell over the telephone if you talk to them.
Sometimes you just engage in a little bit of conversation. It only takes a few minutes to find out. The last one are I's. An I is an influencer. I's are not at the top. They're there with the troops. They're the one that inspire everybody. Yeah, rah. I'm a high I personality. I'm animated. I like people. People like me. I like everybody, and everybody likes me, except D's. They hate me. They want to kill me.
That's not true.
Because
I'm a
too chatty.
D, and I love you already. This is the most fun I've had, and I'm a D.
I see a lot of
Yes.
things going on here.
Yes, I love kids.
Their
Yes.
eyes are very chatty, and they will
I
talk
do.
forever.
And I'm a D.
And you'll leave the house and you'll go, crap, I forgot to sell that, get the listing. But they know all about my grandkids now, and they know I love deep sea fishing, and they love scuba diving, and,
You go back knocking
you know,
on the
we
door.
travel the world in our conversation, and never brought up the contract. So you gotta watch them, they're time
So
wasters.
if the guy was a data analyst and he's a buyer, he's probably a C, isn't he?
If he's a what?
Data analyst for a real estate
So which one?
investment firm.
He's probably a
And I see
C.
you later.
I guarantee you, if he's an engineer, he is a C.
Data analyst looking at.
I sold the most expensive job in the history of Sinclair Printing. In that presentation, it was like a $400,000 single print job. And the problem is that because of the type of press that it ran on, there's grain to paper. You understand? There's long grain paper and there's short grain paper. This was a short grain press running long grain paper.
Wow.
So what happened is in the binding, when the glue cooled,
It
the
cracked.
paper went like this a little bit.
That's
Just
not
a little
good.
ripple close to the gutter.
Oh, shit.
And I had to go with the owner of Sinclair Printing and our plant manager and meet these two guys, and possibly the sales rep. True story. I'm only gonna share this with you because it's so valuable. So I go there, and this is a $400,000 job, half of which had already been printed.
Not good.
And we got this complaint. And I go there, and I'm thinking, okay, Dan, the owner of my company, is a high I personality. That guy knows about everything. He knows a little bit about everything. And the guy that hired me for this job, the print buyer, he's a high I. The other guy that works for him that runs their production is a C. Data, 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 data. Very knowledgeable, kind of nerd-like. And then my plant manager, who had a Napoleon complex because he was about this tall, and flat top haircut, and he's a D personality. There's no way, I thought, I gotta get this right. And then they had their salesperson, who was almost no chance she was gonna be there. Now, I had gone on vacation and come back from the Caribbean, and you guys all heard of Tortuga rum cakes?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a pint of rum in each one. They're just so rich. I brought 2 of those to our meeting for whoever. So while we're there, I got the 2 eyes chatting it up, the 2 managers, the owner and the manager, chatting it up about instruments, about the Beatles, about everything you can think of but this issue. And then the 2 production guys, the D and the C, this guy is burying this guy in tons of data. And I arranged all this before I went. I handpicked these people for this appointment. I said, Gary, you need to bring a shitload of documents. I don't care what it says or what's in it, it's gotta look like a lot of stuff. And he brings it and they start wading through it. This guy is in freaking heaven. Oh, data, more data. Data that means absolutely nothing, because there's nothing we can do about this problem, and we knew what the problem was. This guy's happy, and then the salesperson walks in the room. Oh crap. She comes over, she goes, are you guys talking about my job? And she picks up one of the books that had the problem, and this, I'm not exaggerating, she opens the book, and I'm watching her eyes like a hawk. And she's looking for what the issue is. She gets close to the gutter, and I go, did you happen to notice that we have rum cake over here?
And she goes, oh.
And she goes, oh, wow, rum cake. She goes and chops off a couple slabs of rum cake, and she's gone. And it saved the day.
The rum cake.
The rum cake kept her away, so she wasn't even aware of what the problem was.
It's a Seinfeld episode.
It's a Seinfeld episode, but it's true. Personality types are so important when you go to listing presentations. Know how to approach these people.
I'll show you something I
Don't come up with a lot of data for an I or an S. For a C, bury them in data. And for a D, just hand them the contract.
So I have a buyer that's she says she wants to measure every room in the house.
That's
She's
a
probably
C.
a C.
She is a C.
Should I let her do it or not do it for her?
Oh, absolutely. You have to give her all the data.
Should I just go ahead and do it for her? Be like, here it is, I measured it with a digital laser?
No. I think she should do it herself. Is she asking you to measure it and give her
No,
the data?
let her do it herself.
Yeah, no, let her do it. If she wants to do it, let her do it herself.
Okay.
Laser thing and let her watch you.
Yeah, or something like that. Oh, was my glasses? All right, guys, let's get down to business for the last 15 minutes.
Give her a nice tape measure, here you go.
How many people here have done a CMA and how many people have not? Oh,
pass.
let's do a show of hands if people have not.
Oh,
Because I might have to show you after class. I don't know if we're
You can
gonna.
show me after class. Ken Mitchell way.
There you go. All right, so we're on page 21.
Are
I
you gonna
think.
show it here, no,
yeah, I'd like
What's
to.
that?
the CMA, are you gonna show it here?
Show it here? I can.
On Gallup?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm supposed to be giving you guys some
That's
addresses.
great. For what?
All right, how about this? For those of you who know how to do a CMA, could I just give you an address and you do it together?
Yeah,
Today?
Right now?
yeah.
Can you guys do this address? 43321 Edson Avenue
Well, I need to do a CMA.
in Lancaster.
So when you do the CMA, you start off.
43321 Hudson Avenue, Lancaster. Do a CMA on that, because I sold that house a year ago, and I didn't put it in value, I'm gonna contact them. And say, hey, you know your house went up $50,000 in value? All right, I've got one. Here, have you guys, either one of you done a CMA before?
Yeah.
All right,
When you do
here's an
the
address
CMA,
for
you
you.
break it down
I got a
by
listing appointment at this house on Saturday.
10 years.
It's 1621, 1621, Bisbee Ice, B-I-S-B-E-E, in Lancaster.
Square feet.
Yeah, it's like 2%, but I don't know if it's percentage, so I do 2 or 3 down.
You guys have done it or not?
Miss D is waiting for you, Mr. Animated, and I like
You got an
it.
address?
No, I don't,
You
I'm
want an
waiting.
address?
And just give me the address, remember, no fluff.
Okay, this is 4945599.
Wait, all over again, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
the address is 9455
Because
East Avenue T8
these houses,
in Little Rock. I'm giving you a tough one because you're a D. T as in Tom.
Oh, T, you got
Thank
T.
you.
T as in
Yeah,
Tom.
I got it.
yeah.
Have you done CMA? Where's this? Done Zillow?
Yes, 9-4 Hudson.
33, let's
Probably,
see.
I'll tell you why I
No,
am.
that's fine.
Four,
I'll tell you why I am.
4813.
This is what I was.
No, that's fine. I'm not disagreeing.
I want to get the statistics on it. Like, what is
Trying to
it?
figure out what it is.
Yes, how many bedrooms, what did I put in?
Tell you exactly.
9455 East Avenue T8. Why is it not coming up?
Because maybe they would California.
You think?
You know what, just Google it.
5, 6.
Do you have any
Well,
information?
we are not, oh, I bet you it's this one.
Gotta look it up.
No, it ain't.
First step of the process.
Didn't I live in California?
Right down the street, right from my friend.
I can't see the whole thing. I have California. I need to see the statistics on it first. I can't look it up otherwise. You have to know about it.
You gotta get the number of bedrooms. Guys, there's multiple sources to get the number of bedrooms and the square footage. You can look on Gabar because it may have been listed recently or sold recently, and all that information
Oh,
is
that's a
there.
good point.
Or you can go to title, if you have a representative at title, you got an account, or.
Good morning, this is Cindy. How can I help you?
That are the same models, same everything, but they're brand new, so the builder is pricing these houses at $500,000
Right now, you can call me back in maybe an hour.
Must be a bad
Thank you.
address.
Bye.
10.
Okay, the reason I'm doing this is I have to find the square footage and where it was built.
This must be yours, because it says Ken Mitchell.
Can't about 5'6".
It may be.
But I have.
Got solar panels?
So do a CMA and tell me if my price was right.
What did you sell the house for?
10.
Wait, you found it? Okay, I
You're
need,
not gonna run the,
wait, I want to see the information on it.
oh, by the way, it's active. This is your current listing?
4'3",
Don't move it.
It should be active.
985.
Says so on Realtor.
No, 43385 Spring Street.
Those things are not. The address is it right? These,
Yeah. Okay, yes. That's what you need, that's what I was looking for it. And that is T8?
Oh, it's got a swimming pool.
Yeah, that's what makes it hard.
Okay, CMA. Oh.
I like that green carpet.
That address must be wrong, guys. I must have done something wrong. Oh, it's 43885, sorry.
See, yeah.
Okay.
43885.
Hey, Ken,
Yes.
that purple carpet is pretty pretty.
I've been there.
Yeah.
That's a selling point, especially with the matching couch.
It is, it is.
Yeah, I love it.
Dog hide couch.
3885.
Yes, 4
Nice match, the green with the maroon carpet.
So do a CMA and tell me how you came up with the price. See if you would have sold it for the
The
same
master
thing.
looks kinda cute though.
The master?
Back.
What's really challenging about that is it's two parts.
Oh,
The house is two parts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's a second wing. They called it the west wing as a joke. But it was a separate living room
Huh.
and a bathroom and 3 bedrooms.
What was it, an add-on at some point?
Yeah. And they, at times they rented it out as a granny party. But it didn't have a kitchen. Had to share the kitchen. So it was a challenge.
Is that a
We started out at a
generation?
crazy high
That's
price.
that's actually at my.
It's on the market now.
He can't say because it'll skew my results.
Well, it says here, presented by with Keller Williams, and it says open house. Maybe this is,
What the heck?
yeah, this is Realtor, usually Realtor has it,
¿Viste el troll de Amistad?
Okay,
Does it say
insert, create
where does it say?
radius.
I thought it said
It says presented by.
At the top.
Maybe not.
That's crazy.
So,
Yeah, for sale, active.
your buildings.
Shoes in there.
Well, if you go to Gap, I'll show you.
Should we take it off the MLS?
No, I listed that with Mike Miller. He was the primary on it.
Yeah, maybe he never took it off the MLS.
Oh, is that what it's?
Realtor feeds right off the MLS.
I'll have to figure it out.
Yeah, that's a ethics, it's a code violation.
Yeah, I might get a fine.
Yep.
3, 2, 1,
MLS,
6.
I have this address, but on the payroll report, when I put the same address.
Well, this is a good lesson to learn. I want you to take everything out except the word,
So.
take all this out. You're giving it too much information.
Oh.
When you do a title search like this, if you give it too much information, it confuses. Just take out pending place.
Expiry date, no, you gotta do the whole thing.
Yeah,
This is
it'll
the way
come
it's
out.
not.
I usually just do the close just to get an idea and then you can do the actions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
let's see.
on the title search, when you put in too much information.
YouTube.
The same thing on Gap.
Why you
You were to
saying
put in the
that?
whole
I'm gonna
address up there, it won't show anything.
Please beat
I don't know
you.
why.
Yes,
it's
please
not-
beat me. Does that make me a D or an I? I think that makes me an S.
This is the correct.
Yeah, I think so
That's
too.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
have the
want
feelings.
beat, yeah.
To beat me, to beat.
To beat. I'll do it too, cause I'm a D, I'm Dawn. We have a meeting, I think I messed something up, edit search.
So what I'll do is
That's the thing with property.
Which one is it?
Okay, let me get rid of this. Select property type.
You might want to take out the
I have it on my phone.
Yeah, I don't know what
I gotta
happens
get
when
more
I do
gigabytes on my
that.
phone.
I don't want all.
so what we have.
Uh-oh, now what is the property type go? There can't be that many results. It's
What I do is
Yeah, that's the
square
entire
footage
area.
plus or
That's the entire
minus.
region.
Oh, I don't have the, I know, I don't have the address. Let me get the address if I can. 9455
You do a CMA?
Avenue, T-8, Little Rock,
Yeah.
Little Rock, there we go, California. Okay, I didn't have the
I might have
address
deleted
pinned.
it because I.
Now I've got it pinned. Use this location, no I don't, have to go to mail, no. Okay, I'm going crazy.
Our house is 394.
So where's the CMA? The CMA is here.
Sí, depende de lo que haya.
You're still working on that thing?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I've done this a million times, I'm not kidding.
I know I have it.
So, Ken, the pool, patio, whatever in the back.
pictures, I generally look for.
I have done this
what is
100
gonna
times. I've done it
disqualify
once, I've done it a few
for
times.
if I'm looking for a buyer. what's
I
gonna
do this
disqualify,
honestly.
like,
I've done it
they
a
go,
bunch.
oh no, I can't have a, I have to have a.
Yeah, I know, I wouldn't want
freaking
that.
wall, I can't have what it says, and I'll be looking through the window. Go to the next one.
And what's the advantage of that?
There isn't any other than I'm not selling property.
Why are you not selling? You don't? Where do you live?
Well, I don't live everywhere. But I have houses in Tehachapi, I'm selling one, and then elsewhere, I have a house.
And it's drained by battery rolls.
Why does this come up today?
I've only heard this for this house, that you have to stand pay.
Yeah, that's just
Well, I wouldn't
All
know.
right, first of all, you need more than just one house. And you don't even need this.
Is this the address? Cause
Go up
I'm
here.
sure 9455.
It's empty
The
and
condition is pretty much like.
And I gotta know where it is on
We'll
T.
zoom out and look for T until they go back.
Yeah, but specifically, where would it be on T?
After search.
You would have to.
No, but once it's on T, like,
There you go.
where's
First off,
9455?
you're looking in Palmdale.
You got
No,
active.
this says the wrong.
Click on
See what
that.
I'm saying?
Yeah, but that says.
What was that?
You want to active under contract.
Why does it keep
All
coming
county
up to
department,
the
you start clicking active
Just
under
go over to
contract, no showings.
Rancho Vista. Actually, you know what I would do? I would go into Google Maps and type it and figure out where
Now,
it
when
is.
you go to sold date, this is all the houses
This
that
is
sold
not
within the
right.
last 93 days. Crank that up to
Okay,
like
so you
200.
say go to
Google, maps.google.
Google,
That really doesn't.
dot, Google, I don't think it's the right address.
Click on it, sub property type.
9,
Get rid of, you're only gonna focus on single family
455.
residences, you don't want condos on it.
Avenue,
So that's gonna reduce the.
T-8.
Then go down here to
Click on it
city
and see where it is.
and,
Now zoom out so you can see across the
you know,
board.
just skip that.
And then go back to your.
Click out of that.
Yeah, that house I looked at.
So it's between 96,
What year was this house built?
So it's above, it's above this freeway,
yeah, and it's by 96, and who's this,
96, and then
Go
just
back
below
to
T.
T8.
So now go back to the other thing, and you know exactly where it
Go to
is.
1978
They put that in there.
So now go out to
10
the
below,
right.
10
The
and 10
cabinets,
above.
remember the funky white paint?
Really,
They
you
put the white
should go to like
paint
5 below, and 5 above.
It had
Unless
Zoom
there's
back in
always
over there, center of the
in
map.
there.
88, go to 82.
Don't zoom out.
Just
center of the map.
Double, and it had
then
the
5
label
above
out.
is-
And I was just like, what are they thinking, like?
It's frustrating me.
Not frustrating.
And then
No, not
I
you,
don't
the
think
computer,
intentionally
not
use
you.
maps, I
Not
can
you.
just put-
Go out to the little, okay.
I am.
Where's 96? 96 is here, so it's right about
says
here.
2055.
This one?
So I go to 1800 and.
How do I move the pen?
Click on that little greenhouse.
Yeah, I am, and nothing's happening.
So that's T6, here's T8.
And I can't,
So can't you just draw a radius around it?
And where do you go? So now you need to find where the house is and stuff.
it's gonna take us away from here, I need his help.
You know what, you take that dimension.
Well, that's not correct, that's Palmdale City Code.
So I'm trying to find.
I wanted to put the meat smell in there without actually.
Making it better, and
Like
if people who lived there before, they
Like I
would
said,
shelf.
you should just go back to.
Zoom in.
There was shelves
You know the
everywhere.
location of the house?
No, go back to Palmdale, and then just draw a circle.
All right, you need to, I'll tell you what, Ted, go back to.
Just type
It's
it
around
around.
25th Street.
Make it
Into
easier
the
to
wall,
see.
like inlaid shelves, like.
I don't know why this won't find
You're
it.
there,
Because
there's
it's.
25th Street. So
And then
you see
you
that
go into
search,
map search.
click on the search.
Can we
Now
just,
click on the exact location.
move the ones from house?
Now zoom in anywhere in that
Probably
area.
right around there, isn't it?
And then scroll out.
Why don't you draw,
They're by
draw a
T.
circle around TA.
that they could
Do
convert
a radius.
it back to a
say,
three-car
no,
garage.
This is
with
not
no
fun,
doors
I'm
down.
sorry. I'm frustrated,
And I was
yeah, I'm
just like-
frustrated. It should be, you go on ahead, I'm seriously frustrated, I'm not frustrated
I'll
with
just
you,
draw
I'm
the-
frustrated
Well,
with
I
the
know
process.
So, and I come here, click here, and then move the mouse.
And see how many of them are closed.
If I wanna find the
And how many
address.
are in the
Did you put the
Scroll
pin in the
down.
Yeah, I did, and it keeps going to New York or
It's right
N8.
here.
It won't find
That's the most valuable information.
Yes,
you can get anywhere.
I'm
I think
frustrated.
the worst thing that I ever see about
And now zoom in a little bit.
is that it's priced right.
So now look
I'm
at
just
your
frustrated right now, the
guys'
screen.
If they have
There's gotta be some
closed,
place to
and then
send
we
it.
got the little box right there to save it.
We're at TA.
If it has a one.
Wasn't it more like down here, though?
And then, you know, a lot of times,
Here's another
I
one.
get my wife.
We
Oh,
know
I
it's,
see.
we know it's right about there, because we
And
looked.
stuff.
Usually I'm
It's
honest.
kind of like my meter. I'll tell you what my meter you're looking for. It's kind of like my meter.
Like right off of, right off of 96.
Right.
And actually, I think if we zoom in, we might be able to see it. Just don't pay attention.
And I go through anyway. I have a renter.
Anyway, so it's
Well,
happening.
that's a sort of what it's
I think so, and just are these for sale, right?
So can we
And
put
then don't-
No, you cannot, no.
What's good about this search is you got plenty to choose from.
Uh-uh.
Yeah.
It's like so much work, you say, okay, well, what
Yeah,
is it? And
no,
then,
okay.
and now you draw a circle with this thing?
Only if you do the end. That's what I'm saying.
Right, luckily I found them in another house. But they were, it was another neighborhood.
So if you use this, that will zoom in.
House,
So
and when they first
9.55
built that street, and they had 5.5, and now here's the house.
Or TA.
They're like, well, you know,
Where's
it's not a
the
problem.
455?
It says in the thing, tenant.
There's no 455, that's why.
One
Said yes or not.
contract, I'm just like,
That's the.
So then after you've done that,
That's a bad address.
Was it,
It's not the correct address, that's why.
but it came up on that. It came up when I
It's
measured.
not on
For
here.
listing
That's
presentation,
exact, I saw, that's why it won't find it, it's not in here.
so hit next,
The address doesn't
do
exist.
after we find out?
and then you put in
We're
the
not
subject,
supposed to
the
buy
person.
Are you sure that's not a rock?
Oh, gosh, I like, I.
Bizarro, it's not in the, it's not in our.
And you put in the address, the subject, address of the subject.
I'm frustrated, it's out there.
1627. 1627.
Right house, yeah, you know.
Lancaster?
Okay.
Oh, you gotta put.
Well, just draw, you know what, just draw a circle around that.
You can't without the pin, and there is there is no 9455, that's why I'm having a hard time with
Just
it.
take you out and show you
There
your
you go.
measure.
No, Lancaster goes down here.
And then the